Massachusetts is known for its eerie history and ghostly tales. With roots going back to colonial times, the state is filled with chilling legends of spirits and haunted happenings. Its dark history, from the days of early settlers to infamous trials, has left an atmosphere where people say ghosts linger, especially in older towns and historic sites. Many visitors claim to feel unexplained chills, see mysterious shadows, and hear sounds that seem to come from nowhere. The haunted history adds a unique, spooky charm to this New England state. Now we will visit the most haunted places in Massachusetts. Number 1. King's Chapel Burying Ground. King's Chapel Burying Ground in Boston, Massachusetts, is one of the oldest and most haunted graveyards in the United States. Established in 1630, it's a historic site with centuries of chilling legends, eerie encounters, and ghostly tales. Located next to King's Chapel, this burial ground holds the remains of some of Boston's earliest settlers, including important historical figures from colonial times. The grave markers, often weathered and tilted with age, add a mysterious vibe to the site, making it a natural setting for ghost stories. Many visitors and locals believe the spirits of the past still linger here, restless and roaming, often appearing in strange ways to those who dare to wander too close at night. One of the most famous tales from King's Chapel Burying Ground involves the spirit of a woman known as the Lady in Red. According to legend, she was a young woman who died tragically before her time, possibly from heartbreak or betrayal. Her spirit, dressed in a flowing red gown, is said to wander the graveyard, often appearing under the moonlight to those who walk by. Some people report seeing her standing near a specific gravestone, while others say they've spotted her gliding silently between the tombstones, her red dress seeming to glow against the dark. Witnesses claim she looks sad and sometimes extends her hand as if she's seeking help. Those who approach her usually feel an intense coldness or a sudden sense of sadness, as if they've stepped into her world of sorrow. Another famous ghostly presence at King's Chapel Burying Ground is that of Reverend John Cotton, a Puritan minister and a well-known figure in colonial Boston. Reverend Cotton was a strict and influential preacher, and his teachings shaped early Boston society. After his death, some say he didn't rest easily. His ghost reportedly appears in the graveyard as a shadowy figure, occasionally spotted near his grave. People who claim to have seen him describe him as wearing dark, old-fashioned clothing, with a serious and watchful expression. Some even say they've heard faint murmurs or felt a slight pressure, as if he's still preaching in spirit, keeping a close eye on those who visit his resting place. King's Chapel Burying Ground also has tales of eerie sounds and sensations. Many visitors report hearing whispers, footsteps, or the faint rustle of clothing when no one is around. One recurring sound is the soft ringing of a bell, thought to be the spirit of a colonial-era gravedigger who would ring a bell to alert townspeople of a burial. Some visitors even say they've seen this gravedigger's ghostly form, dressed in simple, worn clothes, walking among the graves at dusk, carrying a lantern as he moves from one grave to another. The sight is described as unnerving, with a shadowy figure moving silently and fading away before anyone can get too close. There's also a story of the unmarked graves, which adds to the mysterious atmosphere. Over the centuries, many graves were either moved or poorly marked due to overcrowding and the age of the burial ground. Some spirits are believed to be restless because their graves were disturbed or forgotten. Visitors often feel an inexplicable sense of anxiety or sadness near these areas, where unmarked graves may lie. The feeling is said to be especially strong for those who linger, as though they're being watched by invisible eyes. Many believe the hauntings at King's Chapel Burying Ground stem from the fact that, over time, gravestones have shifted, and the buried bodies may no longer lie under their original markers. This unsettling history could explain why so many spirits appear lost or disturbed, unwilling to move on. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts frequently visit, hoping to capture photos of mysterious mists, glowing orbs, or ghostly apparitions that have often been reported. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, King's Chapel Burying Ground has an undeniable air of mystery. From the Lady in Red to Reverend Cotton, the gravedigger, and the unmarked graves, this burial ground is a place where the past feels ever present. It remains a site where history and the supernatural meet, leaving visitors with unforgettable, eerie memories and a sense of respect for those who once lived, loved, and lost in colonial Boston. Number 2. Hawthorne Hotel. Hawthorne Hotel, located in Salem, Massachusetts, is one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. Opened in 1925, this historic hotel stands in the heart of Salem, a city infamous for its witch trials and ghostly legends. Named after Nathaniel Hawthorne, the celebrated author of The Scarlet Letter, who had ties to Salem and a fascination with its supernatural history, the Hawthorne Hotel is known for more than just its elegant rooms and prime location. Over the years, guests and staff have reported strange occurrences that suggest some spirits may be staying at the hotel long after checkout. One of the most haunted spots in the hotel is room 325. Numerous guests who have stayed in this room have reported unexplained noises, cold spots, and even objects moving on their own. Some say the faucets turn on and off by themselves, while others report seeing the shadowy figure of a woman standing by the window, silently gazing out as if waiting for someone. Many people who spend the night here claim to experience a strong, inexplicable sense of dread, especially in the middle of the night. Some guests have even left abruptly, feeling an intense unease they couldn't shake. The story goes that this shadowy figure might be the spirit of a woman who, according to legend, met a tragic fate and now lingers, unwilling to leave. Another famously haunted area is room 612. In this room, guests have reported hearing voices and whispers when no one is around, with some even hearing faint cries in the night. According to some accounts, people have felt a sensation of being touched or even lightly pushed when alone in the room. A few guests have also reported waking up to the feeling of someone sitting on the bed beside them, though when they open their eyes, no one is there. The most unsettling story involves people feeling pressure on their chests, as if something unseen is pinning them down. Many attribute these experiences to the presence of a spirit, perhaps one who met a tragic end and remains stuck, trying to reach out for help or simply seeking company. In addition to individual rooms, the hotel's hallways and elevators are also known for spooky happenings. Some guests have noticed sudden drops in temperature while walking down otherwise warm hallways, while others report the sensation of being watched. The hotel elevator is also a subject of ghostly tales, as it's known to stop on the third floor even when no button has been pressed. This mysterious activity is so common that many guests and staff have grown used to it, though it still raises chills for first-time visitors. People speculate that spirits from the witch trial era, or perhaps former hotel guests, roam the hallways, revisiting their old haunts and keeping an eerie watch on the hotel. The Hawthorne Hotel's famous ballroom has its own share of ghostly sightings. Many visitors report seeing a woman dressed in a long vintage gown who floats across the dance floor only to vanish upon closer inspection. Staff members setting up for events have claimed to hear music or soft laughter, as if a spectral party is taking place. This mysterious woman, often seen moving gracefully across the room, is said to disappear into thin air when approached, leaving an unearthly silence behind her. Guests attending weddings or parties have also reported seeing her out of the corner of their eyes, only to find no one there when they turn around. In the hotel's restaurant, Nathaniel's, and the nearby library, guests and staff have reported smelling faint scents of flowers or perfume, even though no flowers are in the room. Some say they felt a sudden chill pass through the dining area or seen flickering lights without explanation. Books in the library are sometimes found in different places than where they were left, leading many to believe that a spirit may be lingering, moving objects, and making its presence known. Paranormal investigators and ghost hunters are frequent visitors, hoping to document the strange occurrences at Hawthorne Hotel. They often capture eerie voices on audio recordings, unexplained temperature changes, and even shadowy figures on video, adding to the hotel's haunted reputation. Despite these stories, the Hawthorne Hotel remains a popular destination, with its beautiful, historic charm and a spooky atmosphere that draws thrill-seekers and history lovers alike. Guests who stay often report experiencing something they can't explain, from odd noises to unsettling feelings, leaving them with a haunting memory of Salem's supernatural side. For those intrigued by the paranormal, the Hawthorne Hotel offers an experience that goes beyond a typical hotel stay. With its haunted rooms, ghostly figures, and eerie atmosphere, it's a place where Salem's haunted history comes to life, leaving guests to wonder whether the spirits of the past still linger among them. Number 3. Gallows Hill Museum. Gallows Hill Museum/Theater in Salem, Massachusetts, is one of the most eerie and haunted locations in the city. This site, often described as both historic and unnerving, sits close to where the infamous Salem witch trials took place in 1692. The museum and theater, created to preserve and reenact the harrowing events of Salem's dark history, stand as a tribute to the lives lost during this tragic period. Yet, for many visitors and paranormal enthusiasts, Gallows Hill is more than a museum. It is a haunted site where the spirits of the past seem to linger, reliving their painful memories and reaching out to those who dare to come close. The hill's dark history dates back to when it served as the location for public hangings, particularly during the height of the Salem witch trials. 19 men and women accused of witchcraft were executed here after being wrongfully condemned. Among them were innocent people like Sarah Good, Rebecca Nurse, and George Burroughs, who all proclaimed their innocence until the end. Many believe that the suffering and injustice these individuals endured have left an imprint on Gallows Hill, trapping their spirits in a place where they were denied justice and peace. One of the most well-known hauntings at Gallows Hill is the appearance of unexplained figures and shadows near the site of the old gallows. Several visitors claim to have seen shadowy forms drifting in the area where the hangings were said to have taken place. These shadows, often described as humanoid but faint, appear suddenly and vanish just as quickly. People have reported hearing faint, mournful whispers and even the occasional SOB, sounds that seem to carry a sense of sadness and despair. Some say these shadowy figures are the spirits of those who were hanged, reliving their final moments in an endless loop. A particularly eerie tale centers on the spirit of Giles Corey, a man who was not hanged but was pressed to death nearby for refusing to enter a plea in his witchcraft trial. It's said that his spirit haunts Gallows Hill and the surrounding area, particularly on cold, misty nights. Witnesses describe him as a tall, stooped figure who sometimes appears to be carrying heavy stones, his face twisted in pain. Giles Corey's spirit is often associated with curses, as he supposedly placed a curse on the town before he died. People say that unusual storms, strange weather patterns, or sudden cold chills are signs that his spirit is nearby, and he is said to appear as a warning before something tragic happens in Salem. Inside the Gallows Hill Museum/Theater, where reenactments and educational programs are held, staff and visitors often report experiencing strange phenomena. The theater itself, set up to mimic the courtroom and jail settings of 1692, has a haunting atmosphere. Many actors and staff claim they've felt an eerie presence, as if they're not alone, even when the room is empty. Some performers have reported hearing footsteps behind them or feeling as if someone is watching them during reenactments, especially when portraying condemned individuals. Cold spots frequently appear in certain parts of the theater, and electronic devices sometimes malfunction, adding to the unsettling ambience. The Wailing Woman is another ghostly figure rumored to haunt Gallows Hill. According to legend, she is the spirit of a woman who was separated from her family during the trials, either executed or forced to watch the deaths of loved ones. Her spirit is said to wander the area, letting out soft, mournful cries that can be heard on quiet nights. People claim that if you stand near the hill in silence, you might hear her faintly calling out, as if searching for someone. Those who have encountered her spirit often describe feeling an overwhelming sadness, and have sometimes reported tears in their eyes for no apparent reason. The museum offers ghost tours, where visitors can explore the hill and learn about its haunted history. These tours often lead guests through some of the most haunted spots, with guides sharing bone-chilling stories and accounts from previous visitors. Many who take part in these tours report strange encounters, from seeing faint lights or orbs in photographs to feeling sudden, unexplained chills. Some even claim they were touched by something unseen, a gentle brush or a tug on their clothing, as if an invisible hand was reaching out to them. Paranormal investigators frequently visit Gallows Hill, drawn by its dark reputation and history. Some have captured eerie voices on recording devices, with faint cries and murmurs that seem to echo the emotions of the accused. Others have experienced equipment failures or recorded spikes in electromagnetic activity, often considered a sign of paranormal presence. Gallows Hill remains one of Salem's most haunted locations, attracting those fascinated by the supernatural and those who feel a need to honor the memory of those who suffered there. In sum, Gallows Hill Museum/Theater is more than just a place of historical reenactment. It is a site where the line between past and present seems to blur. With the spirits of innocent victims, shadowy figures, and the ghost of Giles Corey roaming the area, Gallows Hill serves as a reminder of the injustices of the past, and as a chilling experience for anyone who dares to walk its haunted grounds. Number 4. The Lizzie Borden House. The Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts, is one of the most notorious and haunted places in the United States. It is the location of the infamous murders of Andrew and Abby Borden, which took place on August 4, 1892. Andrew and Abby were found brutally murdered with an axe, and their daughter, Lizzie Borden, was accused of the crime. Though Lizzie was acquitted in court, the grisly nature of the killings and the mystery surrounding the case has turned the house into a site filled with dark stories and paranormal activity. Today, the Lizzie Borden House serves as both a museum and a bed and breakfast. The house retains much of its original Victorian charm, and it's a place where visitors can walk through the same rooms where the brutal murders took place. However, it is also a place where the supernatural seems to be ever present. The spirits of the Bordens, as well as the eerie energy surrounding the crime, continue to haunt the house, leaving guests with chilling experiences and ghostly encounters. One of the most well-known hauntings in the Lizzie Borden house is the presence of Lizzie herself. Many visitors report feeling an overwhelming, unsettling sensation when in the rooms where Lizzie is believed to have spent time. Some have felt as though they are being watched or followed, while others claim to hear faint footsteps or see the figure of a woman moving around in the house. A number of people have reported seeing a shadowy figure dressed in period clothing, and many believe it is the spirit of Lizzie Borden herself, still lingering in the home where the tragedy occurred. The room where Andrew Borden was murdered, known as the guest room, is particularly infamous for its eerie activity. Visitors often feel inexplicably cold when entering this room, and several have reported hearing the sound of footsteps or even the muffled voice of a man. Some have even claimed to have seen a figure sitting on the edge of the bed, but when they turn around, no one is there. One of the most chilling stories involves a guest who felt an icy hand touch their shoulder in the guest room, only to turn around and find nothing but empty space. Another area of the house that is frequently the center of paranormal activity is the Lizzie's bedroom. This room, where Lizzie allegedly slept the night of the murders, is said to be filled with strange sounds and sensations. Many guests report hearing the sound of a woman's voice, often whispering, but no one is ever seen. Some have even claimed that the atmosphere feels heavier in this room, as if the air is thick with sorrow and tension. Others have experienced a feeling of being pushed or grabbed while standing near the bed, and some have described an overwhelming sense of unease. The basement, where the bodies of Andrew and Abby Borden were discovered, is another place where paranormal activity is common. The basement is dark and unsettling, and many people report hearing unexplainable sounds such as whispers, footsteps, and the sound of something dragging across the floor. Some guests say they have felt an intense pressure on their chest or a sudden drop in temperature, as if something or someone is in the room with them. Others have reported hearing an eerie banging noise, as if something heavy is being moved in the dark, even though no one is in the basement. Perhaps one of the most compelling ghost stories from the Lizzie Borden house comes from paranormal investigators who have visited the site. One group used a special device called a spirit box that allows communication with the dead through radio frequencies. During their visit, they allegedly captured the voice of a woman saying, "Lizzie." Other investigators have reported hearing the sound of an axe being swung or the disembodied voice of a man shouting, "No, Lizzie, no." These EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recordings have intrigued paranormal enthusiasts and have only added to the house's reputation as a haunted location. In addition to the voices and physical sensations reported by guests, many people have claimed to see mysterious lights flickering or sudden drops in temperature in specific areas of the house. These strange occurrences are especially common in the rooms where the murders are believed to have taken place. Some guests even report having vivid dreams or nightmares about the Bordens, where they relive the tragic events of that fateful day. Despite being a place of great historical significance, the Lizzie Borden house is undeniably haunted by the violence and mystery that occurred there. Whether it's the restless spirits of Andrew and Abby Borden, the unresolved energy from Lizzie's trial, or the lingering presence of the house's grim history, visitors can't help but feel the intense and eerie atmosphere that surrounds this infamous location. Many who visit the Lizzie Borden house leave with more questions than answers, wondering whether the spirits of the Bordens are still trapped in the house, or if their tragic story is forever written into the very walls of this haunted home. Number 5. Taunton State Hospital. Taunton State Hospital in Taunton, Massachusetts, is one of the most haunted and ominous locations in the state. Originally opened in 1854 as a psychiatric hospital, it was built to care for mentally ill patients in a humane environment. However, like many asylums of its time, it became notorious for overcrowding, abuse, and horrifying experimental treatments. Throughout its history, the hospital saw a dark series of events that left many patients suffering, creating an atmosphere of despair and misery. Over the years, Taunton State Hospital gained a reputation for paranormal activity, with eerie sightings and chilling stories of ghostly encounters. One of the most infamous aspects of Taunton State Hospital is the series of mysterious rituals and supposed cult activity that allegedly took place in the underground tunnels beneath the hospital. These tunnels connected different buildings on the campus and were originally built for transporting supplies, but rumors suggest they were later used for something far more sinister. According to some reports, a group of hospital staff members, or even doctors, would sneak into the tunnels at night to conduct occult rituals. Disturbing accounts from former employees and visitors tell of strange markings on the walls and the remains of ritualistic items like candles and symbols carved into the stone. These dark practices are believed to have awakened or attracted malevolent forces, leaving behind an energy that haunts the hospital to this day. The hospital's solitary confinement cells, located in the basement, are among the most haunted spots on the property. Patients who were considered dangerous or unmanageable were often locked in these small, isolated cells for extended periods. The cells were cold, dark, and oppressive, creating a terrifying experience for anyone locked inside. Many patients subjected to solitary confinement were left with severe psychological damage, and some even passed away within those walls. People who have explored the area or investigated the hospital often report feeling a strong, overwhelming sense of dread near these cells, as if an invisible force is warning them to stay away. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving through the corridors, while others report hearing faint cries and moans, as if the spirits of the patients are still trapped, reliving their trauma. Another particularly disturbing entity rumored to haunt Taunton State Hospital is known as the Creeper. Described as a dark, shadowy figure that crawls along the walls and ceiling, the Creeper is thought to be one of the most malevolent presences in the hospital. Those who have encountered it describe feeling an intense, bone-chilling fear, often accompanied by a sense of impending doom. The Creeper has been spotted by paranormal investigators and urban explorers alike, and some believe it could be the manifestation of the anger and pain of the many patients who suffered in Taunton State. The figure moves in a jerky, unnatural way, blending into the shadows, making it difficult to track. Witnesses report that if the Creeper is near, lights flicker, and an eerie, cold draft fills the room. The hospital's upper floors are also known for strange occurrences. On one of these floors, there is a room rumored to be haunted by the spirit of a young woman who allegedly took her own life while a patient at Taunton State. Some visitors claim to have seen her ghostly figure standing by the window, staring out at the grounds with a look of sorrow on her face. Others have reported feeling a sudden wave of sadness wash over them when they enter the room, and some have even heard faint sobbing sounds echoing in the hallway. Paranormal investigators have recorded mysterious EVP, electronic voice phenomena, in this area, with voices that sound like a woman calling out or whispering. Taunton State Hospital's old operating rooms and treatment areas are also hotspots for paranormal activity. These rooms were once used for crude forms of psychiatric treatment, including electroshock therapy, lobotomies, and other harsh procedures. Many patients underwent these treatments involuntarily, and the pain and suffering they endured have seemingly left a dark energy behind. Visitors and investigators report hearing metallic clanging sounds, as if old medical equipment is still being used, and some even claim to have heard screams or cries coming from these rooms. People often feel a sudden drop in temperature, a feeling of nausea, or a sense of being watched when they are in these parts of the hospital. Paranormal investigators and ghost hunters frequently visit Taunton State Hospital, and many have documented unexplained phenomena. Some report seeing orbs or strange, glowing lights in their photos and videos, while others capture EVP recordings of disembodied voices that seem to answer questions. In one case, an investigator asked, "Are you trapped here?" and caught a faint reply of "Help me." Others report feeling strange sensations, such as someone brushing against them, or the feeling of a hand on their shoulder, only to turn and find no one there. Due to its tragic history and the intense suffering that took place there, Taunton State Hospital remains one of the most haunted places in Massachusetts. The energy within its walls is palpable, and those who visit often leave with a lasting sense of unease, as if the spirits of the past are still trying to reach out. The dark legacy of Taunton State lives on through these hauntings, serving as a grim reminder of the pain endured by those who were once confined there. For those who dare to visit, the hospital offers a chilling journey into a place where history, mystery, and the supernatural come together, leaving a haunting impression that's hard to shake.